Welcome to the first part of our Heart of Worship series. Thank you for joining me. This part one, is called Rend Your Heart. In the Old Testament, God told his people that he wanted them to tear their hearts and not just their garments, which means that as important as we talk about the presence of God in worship and entering into times of worship, that we evaluate the status of our hearts at the beginning, step one. And so rend means tear. And so in order to rend our hearts, it is important that we enter into his gates with thanksgiving, as Psalm 100 says. In order to be thankful and grateful for him, we have to think about what Jesus has done for us and the gift that he's given us. So thinking about these things is the first step in entering into our times of worship. Jesus has given his life for us, and we just simply do not deserve it. We cannot pay this debt that we owe, and he steps in and he gives his life as a ransom for us. And to think about these things, to think about what he went through, to think about the look on his face when he's being carried off through the crowd and Barabbas is free because we have just freed him. Thinking about these times where Jesus is there for us and he's faithful is incredibly humbling. And so the grace that God demonstrates through Jesus on the cross is enough to break our hearts because we have nothing to bring. We have nothing to show for it. Like, we deserved this, but Jesus has taken upon himself this sin, this death, and he's defeated it. And so in order to rend our hearts, to show up at the feet of Jesus with broken hearts, just torn up, is important in the process of the presence of God. So it's natural for us to need a little tuning when we show up. We could be hungry, we could be tired, distracted, especially in these times. We could be worried, we could be consumed, our minds and our lives could be consumed with worry and doubt and fear, anxiety. And that's a normal thing. That's okay if you're dealing with that. But it's important for the posture of your heart to be focused and pay attention to the things that are certain and true and who is sovereign. And that will strengthen you in the Lord in order to deal with these unprecedented times. So with all that being said, it's easy, again, for so many walls to be up when we talk about worship in God's presence. And it's important for us to identify these walls that we might have put up or might already be up around us, and also be open for God to break down some of those walls in order for us to receive more of him, and in order for us to hear his voice a little clearer, to experience his presence. Which brings up another question. Are you experiencing the presence of God right now at home? But also when we have been gathering in the past, like in our times of worship, are you experiencing God's presence? Because I can promise you, and God promises us, that he wants that for us. He wants you to experience him. He wants you to receive his gift of Jesus and the cross. And so there's a process that has to happen. And God says this first step is for you to tear you. You should be torn up. And it's a place of repentance. God, help us to receive this gift of Jesus. Forgive us for our distractions. Forgive us for our selfishness. Those are the types of postures and attitudes that we should bring. And so, again, naturally, this song will sing, "Come Thou Fount." Come Thou Fount of every blessing. Tune my heart to sing thy grace. So naturally, we need a little bit of tuning sometimes. And tuning on a guitar string is tight, and you tighten the string a lot of times. And sometimes it's not what feels the best, but it is what is needed. in order for us to experience God. I don't believe that God has taken us all out of this church building for us then to return and do everything the same way that we've been doing it before. I think that it's important for us to evaluate our posture and think about the things that we're doing. So today we're going to sing Come Thou Fount. You should know it if you're participating with your family. I'd love for you to sing along with us. Come thou fount of every blessing, to my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, offer song of thou's grace. Teach me some melodious song, sung by flaming songs of love. Praise the mountain, face of God, down to thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus, you're me when a stranger, wandering from the folds of God, needs to rescue me from danger, enter close his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debt daily I can strain to me. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, blind my wandering heart to thee. Long to wander, Lord, I feel. Long to be the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above.